mystic 𝑁𝒃𝒔𝒃. Welcome, interstellar travelers. Across the long arc of human history, certain minds appear to stand slightly outside the ordinary rhythm of their era. Their thoughts arrive with an unusual clarity, their perceptions feel heightened, and their ideas ripple outward long after their footsteps fade. These individuals often live at the intersection of observation and intuition, where logic meets wonder and curiosity expands beyond accepted boundaries. Throughout time, humanity has attempted to understand how insight emerges. Some attribute breakthroughs to relentless study, others to imagination shaped by experience, and still others sense a subtler dimension of awareness that occasionally reveals patterns before they fully materialize. Whether one views these moments through a scientific lens, a philosophical framework, or a contemplative perspective, they share a unifying element: the feeling that discovery begins long before the world recognizes it. This episode explores two figures whose lives invite reflection on that threshold between perception and realization. Each lived in a different century, spoke a different intellectual languages, and pursued distinct paths, yet their legacies continue to spark fascination because both seem to access ideas that felt just beyond the horizon of their time. Their stories encourage a question that lingers quietly in the background. How much of creation begins as a vision held in the unseen spaces of thought? Rather than approaching their histories as isolated biographies, let's stop and consider them as parallel explorations of the human potential. One translated inner imagery into tangible innovation, reshaping how energy moves through the modern world. The other expressed insight through symbolic language, crafting verses that continue to invite interpretation generations later. Each, in his own way, expanded the conversation about perception, creativity, and the mysterious origins of inspiration. Allow your mind to wander through the possibility that insight often arrives as a whisper before it becomes a declaration. Nikola Tesla entered the world on July 10, 1856, in the small village of Smiljan, which formed part of the Austrian Empire during that era, and today rests within modern Croatia. Local tradition holds that a powerful electrical storm swept across the sky on the night of his birth. Family stories later described a midwife who viewed the flashes as an ominous sign, while his mother responded with calm certainty, declaring her son would bring light to the world. Tesla grew up in a household steeped in intellect and creativity. His father, Milutin Tesla, served as a Serbian Orthodox priest known for eloquent sermons and a deep appreciation for language. His mother, Ďuka Mandić, possessed remarkable ingenuity, even though she received no formal education. She crafted mechanical tools for household tasks and could memorize long passages of poetry with ease. Tesla later credited her inventive spirit as a profound influence, often remarking that his capacity for visualization and problem-solving felt inherited from her mind. Childhood for Tesla carried both brilliance and intensity. Accounts describe a boy with an exceptional memory who could perform complex calculations mentally and who experienced vivid sensory impressions. He often spoke of images appearing before him with striking clarity, almost as if objects existed in a fully formed state within his imagination. Rather than sketching ideas, he rotated them mentally, refining every component until the design felt complete. These inner visions later became central to his approach to invention, allowing him to test mechanisms in thought before constructing them in physical form. Education further revealed his prodigious nature. Tesla studied engineering and physics across several institutions in Europe, absorbing concepts related to electricity, magnetism, and mechanics with extraordinary speed. Professors observed a student driven by curiosity rather than routine, someone fascinated by the hidden principles governing energy. His early fascination with alternating current emerged during these years, planting the seeds for innovations that would eventually reshape electrical systems across the globe. Emotional depth also marked his youth. Tesla formed strong attachments to nature and frequently described moments of profound stillness while observing landscapes or listening to subtle sounds. Such experiences nurtured a reflective temperament that balanced his analytical abilities. The combination of intense imagination, disciplined study, and a sense of wonder toward unseen forces created the foundation for the visionary figure history remembers. As Tesla matured, these early traits converged into a unique way of perceiving reality. His inventions would later transform modern life, yet the origins of those breakthroughs trace back to a childhood filled with vivid imagery, intellectual stimulation, and a family environment that valued both spirituality and creativity. Understanding these beginnings offers insight into how a mind attuned to possibility gradually evolved into one of the most influential innovators in human history. Nostradamus, born Michel de Nostradam, entered the world on December 14, 1503, in the sun-warmed town of Saint-Rémy-de-Provence in southern France. His upbringing unfolded during the Renaissance, an era alive with renewed curiosity about science, medicine, astronomy, and classical knowledge. This cultural atmosphere surrounded his earliest years with a sense that the universe operated through patterns waiting to be understood. His family environment encouraged learning from the very beginning. Nostradamus came from a lineage that valued scholarship, with relatives trained in mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. His grandfathers played an important role in his education, introducing him to classical languages and the study of the heavens while he was still young. These early lessons cultivated a lifelong fascination with celestial cycles and the belief that earthly events mirrored larger cosmic rhythms. Childhood experiences also exposed him to the realities of illness and healing. Europe during this period faced recurring outbreaks of plague, and the presence of suffering left a deep impression on the young Nostradamus. This exposure guided him toward the study of medicine, where he later gained recognition for innovative approaches to hygiene and patient care. His compassion and desire to understand the forces shaping human fate became intertwined, blending practical healing with philosophical reflection. As he matured, Nostradamus developed a contemplative temperament. Accounts describe a man drawn to quiet observation, often spending long hours studying texts, planetary charts, and natural phenomena. His intellectual life reflected the Renaissance ideal of a scholar who sought connections between disciplines, moving fluidly between science, spirituality, and symbolism. This broad perspective shaped how he interpreted the world, viewing events as part of a vast, interconnected universe. These formative influences gradually led him toward the work for which he became widely remembered. His prophetic writings, expressed through poetic quatrains, emerged from a mind trained to see patterns within complexity. Whether one interprets his visions as intuitive insight, symbolic storytelling, or a reflection of Renaissance thought, their origin can be traced to a childhood rich in education, curiosity, and a deep awareness of life's uncertainties. Through this lens, Nostradamus appears less as an isolated mystic and more as a product of his time, whose early exposure to scholarship, healing, and celestial study shaped a lifelong exploration of destiny and meaning. His beginnings reveal how intellectual curiosity and sensitivity to the human condition combined to form one of history's most intriguing figures. When viewed side by side, the lives of these two remarkable figures reveal a fascinating symmetry. Each traveled a path shaped by intense observation, deep contemplation, and a willingness to trust inner perception as a source of insight. Their pursuits unfolded in very different cultural landscapes, yet both seemed guided by an enduring curiosity about forces operating beneath the surface of ordinary experiences. One explored the hidden behavior of energy, seeking to understand how unseen currents could move through space and transform the material world. The other studied symbolic relationships between celestial motion and human events, searching for meaning within cycles that appeared to repeat across time. In both cases, discovery began with attentive awareness, a kind of listening directed toward patterns that many overlook. Periods of solitude played a significant role in shaping their perspectives. Long hours spent in focused reflection allowed ideas to mature without distraction, creating an environment where imagination and analysis could interact freely. This inward attention served as a bridge between contemplation and expression. From these quiet intervals emerged inventions that powered cities and writings that stirred curiosity for centuries. Another intriguing parallel lies in how each translated perception into form. One expressed insight through tangible creations that harnessed physical principles, while the other conveyed impressions through language rich with symbolism and layered meaning. Both methods required a capacity to move between inner vision and external reality, transforming abstract impressions into something others could engage with and interpret. Their stories invite reflection on the possibility that creativity often arises from a meeting point between intellect and intuition. Rather than existing as separate domains, these qualities can function together, shaping ideas that feel both inspired and grounded. Through this lens, the similarities between their journeys become less surprising and more illustrative of a broader human capacity to perceive patterns before they fully reveal themselves. This convergence of perception, curiosity, and expression sets the stage for a deeper exploration of how each approached the unseen in his own distinctive way, illuminating the many forms that insight can take when nurtured through dedication and wonder. Insight often begins as a subtle impression, a sense that reality extends beyond immediate perception. For both figures, this awareness shaped how ideas emerged and how understanding deepened over time. Their creative processes reflected an unusual relationship with imagination, one that allowed images, symbols, and concepts to take form within the mind long before they appeared in the world. For Tesla, invention began as an internal experience vivid enough to feel tangible. He described ideas arriving with remarkable clarity, as if mechanisms already existed within a mental landscape waiting to be explored. In this inner space, he could observe movement, refine structure, and perceive energy flow with precision. Such mental immersion allowed him to engage with possibility in a way that blurred the boundary between conceptual vision and physical reality, giving his work a sense of inevitability once it reached material form. For Nostradamus, perception unfolded through symbolism and layered meaning. His writings reflect a mind attuned to patterns that seem to echo across history, nature, and celestial motion. Through poetic language, he translated impressions into imagery, capable of holding multiple interpretations. This approach invited readers to engage actively with his work, discovering significance through reflection rather than direct explanation. The power of his expression lay in its openness, allowing insight to evolve alongside those who encountered it. A deeper similarity emerges in how each trusted perception as a gateway to understanding. These experiences suggest that imagination can function as a tool for exploration, revealing connections that logical analysis alone might overlook. Through sustained focus, each cultivated a capacity to remain present with ideas long enough for deeper structure to reveal itself. This patience with the unseen became a defining element of their creative legacy. Examining their approaches side by side highlights a broader truth about human awareness. Visionary thinking often arises when curiosity meets attentiveness, when observation extends inward as well as outward. In this meeting place, insight gains the freedom to develop fully, guided by both intellect and a sensitivity to patterns that quietly shape experience. These elements, often overlooked, offer a more intimate understanding of how their minds moved through the world and how their inner landscapes shaped their public legacies. Nikola Tesla maintained an extraordinary sensitivity to his surroundings. He possessed an acute awareness of light, sound, and vibration, sometimes describing physical discomfort when exposed to intense sensory input. This heightened perception may have contributed to his deep fascination with frequency and resonance, as if his own experiences provided a living laboratory for understanding energy. Later in life, he developed a strong attachment to a white pigeon he cared for in New York, speaking of the bird with profound affection. This bond hints at a contemplative and gentle aspect of his personality rarely emphasized in technical discussions of his work. Tesla also held unusual personal rituals. Precision shaped many of his habits, from his attention to numerical patterns to the structured routines he followed each day. Such behaviors suggest a mind that found harmony in order, reflecting a desire to align thought and environment in a way that supported concentration and creativity. Nostradamus likewise carried nuances that enrich his story beyond the image of a solitary seer. Before gaining recognition for his prophetic writings, he achieved respect as a physician who emphasized cleanliness and nutrition at a time when such approaches were far from common. His practical contributions to public health demonstrate a grounded side of his character, balancing the mystical reputation that later surrounded his name. Another intriguing aspect involves the deliberate obscurity of his quatrains. He blended languages, historical references, and symbolic imagery in ways that protected his work from strict interpretation during a period when unconventional ideas could invite scrutiny. This layered style reveals a strategic thinker aware of his cultural environment, someone who understood how language could shield as well as reveal meaning. These lesser-known elements bring both figures into sharper focus as complex individuals shaped by personal sensitivities, cultural contexts, and inner convictions. Through them, the narrative expands beyond legend into a richer appreciation of the human qualities that accompanied their extraordinary insight. Such details invite listeners to see their lives as multidimensional journeys where intellect, emotion, and environment intertwined to form the legacies that continue to captivate imagination. When the stories of Nikola Tesla and Nostradamus are contemplated together, a quiet resonance begins to emerge. Their lives unfolded centuries apart, shaped by different cultural forces and intellectual traditions, yet both journeys reflect a deep engagement with perception beyond immediate appearance. Each sought to interpret patterns that felt larger than individual experience, translating insight into forms others could explore and consider. The idea that awareness itself can function as a creative force. Tesla approached this through a profound sensitivity to energy, perceiving movement and structure within fields invisible to the eye. Nostradamus approached awareness through symbolism, observing cycles and relationships within the cosmos that he expressed through language rich with layered meaning. Though their methods diverged, both paths demonstrate how attentive observation combined with imagination can reveal new dimensions of understanding. Another meaningful connection lies in how each balanced inner vision with outward expression. Insight alone remained only potential until it found a way to manifest, whether through innovation that transformed daily life or writings that invited contemplation across generations. This interplay between perception and creation illustrates a universal principle. Ideas gain vitality when they move from the private realm of thought into shared human experience. Reflecting on their similarities encourages a broader consideration of how inspiration arises. Their lives suggest that creativity often grows within moments of stillness, curiosity, and openness to possibility. Rather than viewing insight as something reserved for extraordinary figures, their stories can be seen as reminders of the expansive capacity inherent within human awareness itself. Exploring the lives of Nikola Tesla and Nostradamus has revealed a profound pattern of human creativity and awareness. One emerges as a master of tangible energy, bending unseen forces into devices that illuminate cities and shape the modern world. The other moves gracefully within the symbolic and abstract, mapping the rhythms of stars and history into language that continues to challenge understanding centuries later. Studying them side by side underscores a truth that had never been as clear before. Vision and insight are as diverse in expression as they are universal in possibility. Tesla's life demonstrates how discipline, intense focus, and a willingness to surrender to inner imagery can translate intangible patterns into transformative realities. He trusted perception so deeply that inventions were first explored fully in the mind before being realized externally. Nostradamus teaches that observation need not always take the shape of machines or objects. Symbolic perception can reveal connections across time and human experience. Both men trusted the unseen, whether electrical currents or celestial archetypes, and allowed it to guide their contributions to the world. Reflecting on these lives leads to a personal understanding of how imagination functions as a bridge between inner vision and outer manifestation. Insight appears when curiosity meets stillness, when the mind observes quietly yet deliberately, noticing subtle patterns and unexpected relationships. Maybe creativity flourishes when intellect, intuition, and attention converge. Both demonstrate that what begins in a private space of contemplation can ripple outward, influencing countless others in ways that extend far beyond their lifetimes. From this research, a lasting insight arises. Perceiving the unseen requires courage, openness, and trust. It suggests that human perception is far more expansive than commonly acknowledged. Curiosity paired with disciplined attention opens doors to experiences that can transform both thought and world. Studying their journeys leaves an enduring impression that insight, imagination, and awareness are deeply connected, a reminder that possibility often begins as a whisper in the mind before becoming a force that reshapes reality. One question keeps returning to my mind. If two individuals separated by centuries shaped their reality and the world around them through a deep attunement to vision, perception, and intention, could it be that the forces guiding their insights are accessible to anyone willing to cultivate focus, imagination, and alignment with unseen patterns, allowing extraordinary outcomes of their lives, hinting at a universal principle? One that what we hold clearly in one's mind, visualizing and trusting the process before it has the potential to manifest in our lives. Until our paths cross again, stay curious, stay aware, and keep your eyes on the patterns hidden between myth, history, and the stars. Love, light, and cosmic blessings, Mystic Missy.